Hey, this is Derica, your host on the Happiness Recipe Show 2.0, where top experts are sharing their personal stories of breaking through their own fear and resistance and into living their happy life and how you can do it too. I am so excited and happy and honored to welcome back to the show Robin Rose Bennett. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for hosting and creating this.
Absolutely. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, you guys, if you have not got to meet Robin Rose yet, you haven't heard of her yet, I'm going to jump into her beautiful bio so we can get to
Mm,
know her a little bit more. And then we'll dive into those deep, juicy,
mm.
magical questions. Okay.
Thank you, Derica.
Yes, here we go. So, Robin Rose Bennett is a storyteller, writer, and herbalist. She has been offering classes in wise woman healing ways, herbal medicine, and earth spirit teaching since 1986 at herb conferences, festivals, clinics, medical and nursing schools, and most joyously outside with the plants. Robin Rose shares herbal medicine and gratitude for the loving generosity of the plants and the magic, mystery, and beauty of the web of life. She is on the faculty of the New York Open Center and the Arbor Vitae School of Traditional Herbalism and is the author of two meditation MP3s and the books Healing Magic, a Green Witch Guidebook to Conscious Living, and The Gift of Healing Herbs, Plant Medicines, and Home Remedies for a Vibrantly Healthy Life. Woo! Welcome to the show. I just love it. Can you
Mm,
feel the magic, you guys? Oh, this is going to be good. Juicy,
thanks,
juicy.
Derica.
Okay, you guys, before we jump in that, I always say blue pen, white paper because there's going to be just magic poured and sprinkled all in between this interview here. So don't miss it. All
Wait,
right.
I only have a purple pen and a black
Oh,
pen. Is it okay? Is it
what's
okay?
purple?
Okay.
Purple's close enough.
Okay.
Love it. All right, Robin, can you tell us a bit of your story and what led you to do what it is that you do today?
Yes. That's always so tricky as to which part of the story to start with or where to begin. So I would like to start when I was an older teenager
Okay.
and I took my first spiritual classes. My mother had been ill and she went to take a class, and I watched her and my dad come home from this class rather transformed, and I was really intrigued. It was called Silva Mind Control. It's still around. Terrible name, but a wonderful course. And because we don't control anything,
Right.
um, right? We want to move into relationship with things, not control them, which is something that has been very helpful in my own story to be learning over and
Mm,
over again. But back into the personal narrative, I worked with the teachers who taught that course for years to
wow.
beautiful spiritual work, which will tie into what we talk about today. It's still completely valid, and but I think that because what they did was so real and deeply self confrontational in a loving way, but nonetheless, it was didn't become a huge success, say like a Silva Mind Control. So their names are not household names today, right? However, um, after years of working with them and ultimately teaching with them and running support groups for people, I mean, thousands of people went through the courses. When I say they weren't household words, I just mean they weren't like, Deepak Chopra.
Yeah.
Okay. Um, I knew that there was a piece missing. And
Mm,
the piece missing, I'll cut to the finding rather than the seeking part. The piece missing was the earth. The
mm,
piece missing was the body. I was way more comfortable in the invisible realms, in the realms of spirit and mind,
yeah.
way more agile and talented, really.
Yeah.
So I hadn't yet come home to my body. So, what grace of guidance and inner dissatisfaction and such led me to that, is a whole other memoir for another day, right? But it was looking for that way to, the way I can put is that seeking for the way to ground this spiritual, um, well, really, it was my orientation was spiritual, even from a really young age when nothing around me taught me about this or supported it or was in my home. There was always, I always had a sense of this deep life force in it, connecting everyone and everything.
Yeah.
And but I had a lot of mental and emotional growing to do, and physical embodiment to embrace, which is my life path, is the integration really of all of it, and helping others, of course, to do the same because of the joy that it engenders and the healing it brings inside and all around us. So that's a little tiny piece of Robin's story. Herbal medicine also came in looking for answers to my own health problems. So there's a little. I write a good deal about it in both books, and there's
Mhm.
always more to share. When the longer you live, the more there is to share. And I've been around for a good long while now.
Oh, you're a spring chicken.
Compared to some, I am. It's true. That's why I keep lots of friends in their 70s and 80s. No, I'm teasing. I mean,
Yeah.
I do have lots of friends in their 70s and 80s, but that's not why.
I
But
know.
listen, our culture has, one of the fears and resistances that is drummed into us is aging. So when
Yeah.
I say I've been around a long time, I'm quite pleased about that. I'm not saying that is something to be, put down or ashamed about in any way. I think it's something we achieve.
Oh, it's
And
beautiful.
yeah, and when I was younger, I really never thought I would like live a long life because I was so fiery and out and doing and risking in this. So even though I was often terrified, which is something we can talk about as you get into your subject matter.
Yes. Oh, that's so good. Thank you, Robin. I
Mm,
love how you let us in. It's a little story, but it's big. It has impact and dimension to it. So really, this has been a part of your life probably since as early as you can remember. Just the awareness of the whole spiritual side, the mind side, the energetic side to us. And
mhm.
then it came into your life with this big pivot point of seeing your mom and dad
Mhm.
experience something so transformational, which then just took you off into that just big, deeper cookie of it,
Yeah.
which was just the beginning still, but
Yep.
it's been going on for this long, and
Another chapter, until coming into the herbal piece
yeah.
led me to how do you integrate joy?
Mm,
How do you have magic not just when you're in like some group meditation or you're caught up in a love circle or whatever it is, but in your moments constantly. Um,
mm,
and really because also like so many spiritual people, I didn't want to be here. I didn't want to be here. I didn't like being here. I had all sorts of judgments of, yeah, because
wow.
it is hard. It's not easy. Um, and because what? Well, never mind. I'll stop there and just let you. Um, in,
Let me process that. That was deep and gold. Wow, I've never heard it like that. When you just said that, I too can relate, and I know that a lot of people that are listening right now, the same thing. It's such two different worlds that we are combining. And when
mm,
you come from this such awareness of the energetic space, the spiritual side, the soul side of who we are, and just the wild and deliciousness of that, and then you turn around and we have to look at the vehicle, right? The
mhm.
vessel. And this has contrast. This has all sorts of experiences and the yin and the yang, the good, the bad,
Well,
it's all.
my feeling is if we can't bring our spirituality into our daily lives, it's not real. It's not grounded. And again,
Wow.
it's where joy is found by the integration. It
Yes.
is where and how to birth joy. And I say that not from my own experience only, but from, you know, midwifing it in so many over these years, both when I lived on the beautiful island of Manhattan,
Mm,
for 2 decades. So being in the city, in the suburbs, which is perhaps the most deadening of
yeah.
all. I grew up in the suburbs, so I had no, again, no exposure, but it's from inside of us.
Yeah.
And besides all that, now everything in nature is calling to people to wake
Mm,
up. So,
mm. We hear it, but it is, I love you're saying we feel it. I think we're most in our happiest state of being. We're most in joy, feeling our joy when we're aligning the two.
mhm.
That is the grounding. That is the feeling. Like you guys relate to this when you are at peace, when you're calm with who you are, where you are,
Mm.
all that is you embodying that spiritual side of you, that much bigger side of you here in the now, which is joining the two. And so that's really our work
Right,
is,
but it's also bringing in the animal self, right? When you talk about being comfortable in your skin, being who you are,
yeah,
that's our physical, material, animal, sensual
there you go.
self, right?
Yes.
And wherever anyone listening is in your own process of this, one of the most helpful things I have ever been received and now want to share with you is to trust your timing. Trust where you are right now. Don't think you should be further ahead, further down your path. Wherever you are, the point of power is in the present.
Mm,
So be with yourself where you are and open from there. Open from there. With
yes.
your releasings and your receivings, with the things you need to let go, things you need to take in. You can't go backwards, but you can definitely be here, and everything can happen here and really only here.
Yeah. Yeah. That's so
And,
deep. That's so good.
yeah, and when you're here, you heal backwards and forwards. So,
I feel that. We're going to go deeper into that in a little later too. But
okay.
this is a perfect segue into being here and in the releasing. Can you tell us some of those fears, some of those, let's say, blocks of resistance that you personally faced, in your life at some point that kept you from your joy? That felt like that.
Do you have a few years for this interview?
I know, I know.
Okay. Um,
A scrape of the icing, the top of the top.
okay, okay, yeah, yeah, yeah. Um, you know, the fears I have had and have at different layers of my being now are the same fears everyone has. They're the fears of, well, I mean, the ultimate, of course, is the fear of dying, or certainly the fear of losing others. But putting that on the shelf for the moment in life, in day-to-day life, the fear of being excluded, right? Of being removed from the tribe, of not belonging. This fear is rampant.
Mm-hmm.
Um, the
Yeah.
fear, as a woman, as a girl, then as a woman, perhaps bringing past life memories forward, perhaps not needing any other reason than the way things are in so many cultures still today. The fear of being harmed was huge. The fear of being, you know, raped, killed, beaten. I mean, these fears followed me everywhere I went. And I just did stuff anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. But you're right, they're there. And I
they're
think,
there. I mean, I have women come into clinic for counseling who are stunned to learn that other women have such fears, who
right.
are stunned to learn that it's not uncommon, to feel extremely vulnerable walking down the
Mhm.
street. I mean, it's so obvious to me that it's hard for me to even believe that, but
Yeah.
it's true. So anyway, but essentially, fear of not being safe is really how you could net it all down. Would be
Yeah.
one of the big fears, and one of the things, and you can say on a spiritual level you're always safe, and that's true, but there's still that, animal concern for survival,
Mhm.
and but I want much more for people than survival. I want thrival, if you will. I want thriving, not just surviving. And which again is where merging that spiritual medicine into physical daily life becomes so invaluable.
Okay.
So the one of the solutions to that is to come into yourself, fully into yourself. To do that, you have to learn who you are, and with all the, taking off the trappings. But this leads us to one of the other great fears that most people have to one degree or another. Well, I mean, it nets down to, you know, fear of being disapproved of
Yeah.
and fear of not having control. Not that I've ever felt these things, mind you, right? But those two will often spar with
Coincide.
each other.
Yeah.
Do I
Hmm.
want the control or the approval? What's the more important? I'm not saying consciously, but what I wanted to say to you was, so in that early spiritual work, one of their teachings was that what you resist persists. So the thing that you are most in resistance to is going to cling to the bottom of your coat and go, hello, 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 hello.
Hmm.
Like you're afraid of losing your home. It's going to constantly be with you and affect how you do what you do. And so what the solution is, and it's a practice. Everything is a practice because life is a practice. It's a school. It's a theater. It's something to be lived, not learned and then lived, so to
Hmm.
speak. All right, that's the control thing that wants to do that. I want to know how it's going to turn out. Yeah,
Yeah.
well, good luck with that. Um, right, but the practice is to embrace what you resist.
Ooh. Ooh, that's deep. Okay.
It's the thing that I feel is one of the most healing things in life. And what it does not mean that, oh, let's say I resist cruelty, whether it's from myself or to myself or what I see in the world. I just picked one that's real, right?
Hmm.
I very much resist cruelty.
Hmm.
So embracing it does not mean, oh, that's fine, you're
Right.
being cruel. Wonderful, pat, pat on the head. No, it means embracing that it is.
Mm.
It means accepting that it is what it is, because then the point of power being in the present, then I can choose what I want to do to address it.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's tricky, and this is I want to be more, because I don't have hours with you to really
Yeah.
give examples and exercises and things. These are our seeds. I want to make sure that we get into very practical, useful things. I mean, not that this isn't, right?
Yeah.
But as you say, it's deep. But the thing is, let's make it really personal. Let's say there's somebody has, here's one that most people have, a fear of not being good enough, for not looking good enough, or
Right.
seeming good enough. By embracing not good enoughness,
Mm-hmm.
we allow ourselves to be a student.
Hmm.
So the key to embracing a resistance is often redefining it, and wherever possible, bringing humor.
Yeah.
Sometimes harder than others, but wherever possible, bringing humor into the equation. And I don't think when I hear people say they want to get rid of their fear, I shudder, because fear is a goddess or God-given gift of a warning system.
Yeah.
I know, and I think I know, that what people mean when they say that is their anxiety. Anxiety is different, but fear is like you're in the dark, you're walking, and suddenly a fear comes into your body, and you turn on your flashlight and you see that you were about to step off the cliff,
Mm-hmm.
right? Or, it could be a physical, real thing like that, or an intuitive fear, like, you know. But so don't get rid of your fear. That's another, thing to embrace and thank, but not let it run the show. I
Yeah.
guess that's where I can leave that piece about the resistance.
Yeah.
When embraced, it no longer runs the show.
Ooh, that's beautiful.
Yeah. And
It no
we want to be running to things more than running from them.
Yeah.
So, like you said, addressing things so as to increase self-confidence. Well, to increase self-confidence, you got to spend some time in your body. And being a
Yeah.
little tongue in cheek, you want to spend all your time in your body because you're in one, but you got to, hello, kitty cat. They're the absolute geniuses of being embodied,
Mm-hmm.
right? But you have to come home to your body. You can't think your way through your anxiety or resistance or grief,
Yeah.
right? I also carried very deep grief. Those are other stories for another time.
Okay.
But I did learn that again, not resisting it, but having it, allowing it, honoring it, expressing it becomes a sacred pathway
Yeah.
into joy. It's all, Derek, I guess what I'm saying is it's all about wholeness. You
Yeah.
can't have joy without grief.
Mm. And it's just
You can't have life without death,
right.
right?
Yeah.
Right? Life is birth and death, beginnings and endings. So reframing how we see things is one of the keys. And hopefully that is something that's been happening in this time of awakening and in this time of enforced slowing of activity,
Mm-hmm.
right, through COVID.
Yep.
I don't want to see people just jumping back into, I don't think we ever can, but I know people will try
Mm-hmm.
because
Yeah.
it seems more comfortable. But the reality is, I meet very few people who are actually comfortable today.
Right. Right. That kind of it's full circle because in the beginning it was like trying to, I said the yin and yang and like the dualities of this whole body. That's the earth plane. So we're always going to have the contrast and clarity here. And now, how much of we embody our spirituality and our joy and our happiness? There's going to be things that happen all the time. There's chaos around us all the time. But what you're saying is that these tools of being able to see that fear or the resistance or anxiety, see it, reframe it, be
Mm,
able to look at it just in a different way, not resistance, not resist it, not try to control it. It's
mm,
just you're there. I see you, I accept you. And in that, we're able to pivot our focus, our attention, our whole creation on something else instead of this tug of war of this, like, I'm not good enough
mm,
or I'm going to die, or whatever
mm,
it is. Just say, okay, I feel that way.
mm,
But, and so we acknowledge it, but now here's another way that I can feel. Right? Is that what you're saying? Because to give like an example of, we can't get rid of fear. That's an innate technique we have. That's brilliant. There's goodness about the feeling fear. So it's not that, but we have to be able. So say if someone feels, I don't know, life sucks. They have this thought in their head all the time. Life just freaking sucks. Look at this. Look what the world has come to. They're in that state,
yes,
you
yes.
know. Give us an example of what would it be like to not
Hmm.
resist it, just embrace that and pivot from that mindset.
Hmm.
What is something someone could say?
Yeah. Well, first, don't be focused on pivoting from the mindset. Be focused on that you know that life really sucks.
Okay.
And, all right, but I do want to say everybody processes differently.
Yeah.
Okay, so, but part of it would be, okay, so what do I like to do anyway? Well, maybe I like to honk my horn.
Yeah.
Uh, and, but maybe, maybe life sucks, but I love to sing. So I
Hmm.
join a band or I sing with my friends, or we go to karaoke or whatever, and we sing, right? And so they can both coexist. Let me also talk herbally, since that is one of my fortes. So, one of the things I was thinking of for listeners for today is you probably know yourself well enough to know what brings up, what stops you. Let's just say that, what stops you, because you don't whether you know this or not, let me tell you, you don't make joy. Joy's already there. It's opening up to what is already there. It is
Mm.
our natural state, and
Yeah.
everything else is covering it up. You can be grieving and still being held within the wholeness of joy. Again, this is a deep exploration,
Yeah.
and the ways to find it are very simple steps. They are resting when you're tired. They are about spending more time outdoors. And if you cannot spend time outdoors for any reason, you
Yeah.
bring a plant next to where you're bedridden, right? And then maybe you even have two plants or a picture of a plant, or maybe you put something tied to your bedpost.
Yeah.
Um, you 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 basically you return into the body, right? Because life sucks is a thought, right? Life sucks is a thought.
Yeah.
And we cannot, again, we cannot think our way out of this. I know I tried for years, right?
Mhm.
So what we need to do is experience. So we come into the body, and maybe the body hurts and that doesn't feel so good. So perhaps we get into, and this is a definite recommendation whether you hurt or not, you get into a bath made with oat straw infusion.
Mm.
um, I wanted to talk, if we have time, I wanted to talk about 7 helpful herbs. You
Okay.
only need one. And what you need will depend upon you. So let's say one of the things that happens because you have this thought
Yeah.
is that your body gets really tense and your shoulders go up over your ears, or you have the one of, oh God, it's so scary. It's so scary and I'm not safe, right? And so you shut and you close. Then you might want to work with an herb like St. John's wort, hypericum, because it's physically
Mm.
um, tonifying to the nerves and the nervous system, releases tension. It's not a muscle relaxant, but it works literally on the nerves. And its spirit is one that brings sunshine in.
Mm.
And we look at it in the field and it grows in the sun. It grows in the sun. It knows all about sun. And in one of my book stories, I say it invites you over to the sunny side of the street. Right?
And
Some people are more naturally on the sunny side of the street than others. A Sagittarian is no absolutes, but like a Sagittarian is more naturally on the sunny side of the street than a Scorpio. Right?
Mhm.
Scorpios are going down into the deep underworld, and Sagittarians are going like, where are we going next? What new adventure awaits us? So we
Yeah.
need to work with where we are.
Okay.
Another herb might be, so back to that oat straw for a minute.
Yeah.
Oat straw is one that serves almost everyone. Almost everyone. It's not good internally if you have celiac disease. That would be the only caution around the oats. It is the same plant from which we get oatmeal, but
Okay.
it's the grass on which that oat seed that gives us oatmeal grows.
Yeah.
To drink oat straw brings you into the flow. It helps your joints. If you
Mhm.
picture oat straw in the field, the wind comes and the oat does that, right? And
Mhm.
that's what it helps us do physically. So when the tension manifests in the body, um, oats will not only help with calming the mind through B vitamins that feed the nervous system, and calcium that feeds the nervous system,
Yeah.
but its spirit is also like, I know how to flow with the winds of change.
Mhm.
Also helps pain. It helps pain in the body. So I drink oat straw as a regular thing. So, one of the things that's helped me along my path is the plants. I mean, no small thing, right? Because all the work I did before was in my mind, in meditations, in that kind of thing, and it's super valuable. And I would bring it into my life and practice. But
Mhm.
by taking the plants in, I'm taking the earth in. So now, for every person who drinks something medicinal, maybe they're drinking stinging nettles because they don't feel safe, right? So here's a different variation on the St. John's wort answer to that,
Yeah.
right? They don't feel safe. They don't trust their ability to stand up for themselves, right? Safety doesn't have to be, you know, they're going to kill me. It could be that boss browbeats me all the time and I don't know how to say something and keep my job, right? It can be all sorts of different levels of not feeling safe. So nettles strengthens the adrenal glands. And when you strengthen your adrenal glands and your kidneys, as nettle does, and definitely does, like these are not things you have to take anybody's word for,
Mm.
listener. If you drink this, you experience it for yourself, which, by the way, was one of the things that so turned me on when I started studying herbal medicine, because I'm not a good follower,
Yeah.
you know? And
Yeah.
so I could do something and feel it for myself or not.
Yeah.
That was really appealing to me and still is. And
Absolutely.
still is. So this is another way herbs help us come home and feel more joy about it because, oh, well, if I learn I can actually trust my own senses, well, that makes living like a lot different,
Yes.
right, than it was before. It really
Mm.
does. So there's nettles strengthening the kidneys, right? Kidneys in Chinese medicine, which is not the medicine I practice, but I learned from everyone. Kidneys are the organ that is can the organs that are connected to fear.
Yep.
So as I strengthen, right? So it's not like in your mind you say, "Oh, I'm not going to keep feeling this," right? You strengthen those kidneys, and then they're better able to help you process the fears that naturally come through you, especially if you watch the news.
Right.
Um, right? So kidneys, adrenals give you more energy, but they actually, this is a wondrous thing. They give you enough energy that you can rest better,
Oh, wow. Okay.
right? Oats calms you down. Nettles strengthens you, but nettles gives you the kind of, sometimes people, I see people all the time who are too exhausted to
Hmm.
get good rest.
Yeah.
And then if we want to look at like how the plants talk to us, right? There's stinging nettles. When you go to touch it, it stings you and says, "Don't touch me unless I say it's okay." And if you approach nettle with respect and real presence, you can pick nettles by hand. Many people never do, but I teach all my apprentices to pick nettles by hand, to give a giveaway, to ask for permission, and then to take the plant. And in fact, the sting itself is medicinal.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
This
the
is
sting
good.
itself is medicinal. So I wanted to talk about oats. I wanted to talk about nettle. St.
Yeah.
John's wort wasn't on the list, but made it,
Yep.
which is just fine. If your heart just feels troubled, you're just troubled, and you don't, you know, again, it can be on the personal level, it can be on the social level. Or maybe you've lost people to COVID. You know, whatever is going on and your heart is troubled, then a wonderful plant for you is motherwort.
Mm.
Motherwort. Motherwort's botanical name is Leonurus cardiaca, which means the lion-hearted one. The
Wow.
lion-hearted one. So motherwort literally soothes us enough to give us so we can find our courage. Soothes
Mm.
us enough. And right, courage from the word coeur, the French word for heart. Here we have a physical heart medicine.
Wow.
A physical heart medicine that's used for, you know, rapid heartbeat or skipped heartbeats, flutters, things like that. Um, and so it calms and soothes
Okay.
and helps us have more courage because when we're anxious, it's hard to feel courageous,
Absolutely.
right? We
Yeah.
very often find our courage through fear because
Hmm.
fear is so intense that it sparks the other intensity, right? Which is
Yeah.
courage. Like when I was a girl and I would travel alone. I mean, I still travel alone, but I'm not frightened the way I was. I would travel alone and I'd be really frightened. And so
Yeah.
I would always leave myself to people who would tell me that I was crazy to be doing it and why I should. See, that's what happens with resistance. It's like you're
Hmm.
broadcasting, confirm my fears, confirm my anxieties, tell me that I.
Oh,
And
yeah.
why does that happen from the universe? Not because the universe has a nasty sense of humor, because the universe says, "I'm going to help you look at this and learn what you need to learn. and get through the other side.
Yeah.
Because that's all that this is about growing our whole selves. And spirit doesn't care if it makes us uncomfortable.
Mm-mm.
I'm sorry, but spirit doesn't care. So
You got to face it to heal it.
you got to face it to heal it. And having said that, I have found that if it's the practice of your life, this is how you live, or
Yeah.
maybe even not if it's the practice of your life, but you don't always have to know the name of it. You
Yeah.
don't always need to intellectually, consciously grasp exactly what you're healing, like go to the therapist and trace it back to where it started. I don't find that that's necessary. And part of that might be that, and again, what I'm saying is always not only reflecting my own experiences, but because I've worked with so many people
Hmm.
by now, hopefully I learn from every single one of them. And it's like that kind of thing is, I know I'm interrupting my own other thought, but watching how people light up outside when they're learning about the medicine of a pine tree, even if like it's a little boy whose mother dragged him to the walk, they can't resist. We
Mm-mm.
can't resist. We may not choose to become herbalists, right? But learning about this living relationship we have and that we have kin everywhere, I guess feeling different is another huge,
Yeah.
huge thing. That I've always
Oh, yeah.
struggled with,
Hmm.
and now realize, well, that's because you are. Hello, so that's fine.
All of us.
Um,
Yep.
yeah,
Ooh.
uniqueness doesn't mean anyone is more or less special. It just means we're all different. And I
Yes.
love what Brene Brown said. This is a field again, but I love what she says about don't strive to fit in. Don't strive to fit in. Derica, for so many years in my younger years, I would pick only the doors that wouldn't open for me to knock on. It's like if three groups of kids were over here and said, come play with us, I would only want to be accepted by the fourth group who said, we don't want to know you,
Yep.
right? So that's again, you're going to look at your stuff one way or another. So if you can bring some humor, if you can bring some trust in, if you can have some good guides,
Yeah.
know how to ask for help. All those things are going to help on the path. And back to the little boy dragged by his mother who can't help but light up. I mean, so many times someone will say on a walk, I didn't even know I'd be interested in this at all. Wow. And so there is this thing about, so as Brene Brown says, right, don't look for where you fit in. I never finished. Very important that I finish that one. Find where you belong. Don't
Mm.
look to fit in, find where you belong. And the great gift of the plants is they tell us we all belong here. We all belong here. We are part of this beautiful web. We're not connecting with nature. We are learning that we are nature.
Oh, yes.
And it changes everything. It changes everything. Again, for so many people, the truth is one and paths are many. But the inclusion of reconnecting with the natural world is a universal healer. And I believe an essential part of our evolution. Like the fact that we've been cut off from this is pathological.
Hmm.
And it has led to enormous pathology in ourselves, in our families, in our cultures. Um, but the healing is as available as stepping out your front door.
Yes.
That's the
Yes.
thing is it's not this impossible task, that you could easily believe it is when you look at COVID and racism and sexism and war and, blah, 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 blah. Walk outside. Walk outside. There's wisdom coming to you that will help you be in you. When you're in you, you connect with others. And together, right, together we are turning things around. It's just not
Absolutely.
super visible yet, but it is in its small clusters, it's quite visible,
Yep.
right? Earth-based technologies.
Mm.
I could go on and on, right?
Hmm.
Communities, um, awakening
All
of
of this.
indigenous wisdom, the indigenous people of the worlds regrouping and standing up and saying, hey, we have we have knowledge you need, right?
Yeah.
So the awakening is in process, but it requires simple things. It requires resting. It requires nourishment. It requires walking outside, standing with your back to a tree that you feel
Oh,
attracted to, that you might not even know its name. Um,
it's so beautiful.
Herbs are big helpers. They have spirit medicine for us and physical medicine. Another one I would like to mention is because it's also so good in the time of COVID, all of these are, but in particular is thyme.
Yeah.
Thymus vulgaris or any beautifully aromatic thyme. Thyme is one plant that helps us with, and this could be with hysteria. And it
Okay.
could be a calm hysteria that only you know is going on inside you. In other words, calm outside, hysterical inside. Or it
Hmm.
could be obvious hysteria,
Okay.
right? Um, drink thyme. Drink
Mm.
thyme. It helps with that. And at the same time, no pun intended, it just happened. Um, Thyme brings much good medicine to the lungs,
Mm.
right? And it's very protective with antiseptic oils for the lungs. So it's something that I'm including in my kitchen medicine on a regular basis, like in my eggs for breakfast. I put thyme in my vegetables. I cook them with thyme in them. Thyme is a wonderful herb. And, you know, it also helps to not get caught up in the hysteria of now.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we're all subject to, you know, what all
Yep.
this energy that's flying around and all the um, divisive energy, all the polarizing energy. I just watched on a neighborhood chat group the other night these two guys get into this unbelievably childlike fight, like that, where they're calling each other names. And the whole thing started because one of them had said, "Ah, it's such a difficult time. I decided to be part of raising money for Habitat for Humanity. And if you'd like to contribute, you know, do it through this thing." And the next, and somebody's called him a scammer. And the next thing you know, it's this back and forth and calling each other names. Okay, so if
Yep.
somebody calls me a name, I won't say this never happens. It happens, right? Because the more you're out there, the more people.
Mm-hmm.
Another of my favorite Brene Brown things is she said, most people doing that kind of criticism never even step into the ring.
Mm.
I love that,
Ain't
right?
that the truth?
So I've learned not to defend that kind of thing. Just water off the duck's back, like, fine,
That's
fine.
beautiful for everyone to hear right now because you could be in the grocery store line, you could be absolutely anywhere at the gas station, and there's so much friction. Just
Friction's a good word.
yeah, you could feel like the energies between bodies like this between so whether they're in a very fearful state, angry state, however they're manifesting it, it can easily just we're triggered by it, what I'm saying, everywhere we go. And so hearing you say that is very empowering because we can now allow that dirty look or that word whatever it is to
Mhm.
be that drop of water that just literally it's not ours, it's not personal. It's
So one
it's
of the things you can do when that happens that can super help is to literally imagine putting a root down in the earth. And you could be on the 30th floor of a skyscraper and just let
mhm.
that root go through the ceilings and the floors until you're down into the earth, and then
Mm.
breathe the earth up into you. And that can help. That can help.
Yeah.
That can help
Oh,
with that.
absolutely.
And I want to petition you and others to find an alternate word for triggering,
Okay.
because we're not guns, we're not ammunition, we're not really triggered. Uh, and every time we use this word, we are increasing the energy of gun culture. I know it's not the intention,
Yeah.
but what we are is upset. What we are is upset. I mean, if you have a different word you want to use, a better word, tell me or go for it, that's great. But let's start with upset for a moment. If
Yeah.
I'm upset, I can calm myself. I can drink I can take some of my motherwort, which I use in a tincture. That's why I'm doing this, because I do it in little drops. I can put some motherwort in water and calm myself, right?
Yeah.
If I'm triggered, what am I doing? I don't know what to do with that because I don't have a trigger. You know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
not apt. It's a pop word that is not serving us.
I appreciate that tremendously. And you guys, if you say that, we all catch ourselves say things no matter where we pick it up
Absolutely.
in our,
Absolutely.
upbringing.
No,
But I tend to say that as a therapist, that word is used a
exactly.
lot. And so
Lot.
what I just did, I literally just wrote trigger and I said in my brain, cancel, cancel. And then I wrote upset. So that's a technique of disengaging that word. It's a neural pathway, it just fires off.
Yep.
So we say these words and we don't know what they're doing unconsciously to us. Like Robin, you just said, like how does my body even react to trigger? What's the opposite of that? It's wow, this is such a big awakening moment for me. So I really do invite all of us to look at that word. What are
Look at
other
our
words?
words. Words
Yeah,
matter. Words do matter.
it's
Words really matter.
yes. So cancel, cancel that word, and I love upset. We could find
And
other words too, but
yeah, and let something else take its place that's
yes.
more appropriate. Cancel, cancel was something I learned back in Silva Mind Control, by the way.
Mm-hmm. I
Um,
love it.
Thank you, Jose Silva, who had, I believe, a fourth grade education when he created this incredible course about learning how to go into metal and how to go into, flowers and how to read, do intuitive medical readings. This was long before, Caroline Mace, and this became like a known thing. So bless his wisdom and heart creating that.
Yep, it's
But
good.
it's good that you showed that because that's another thing for people to have in mind is you cannot, nature abhors a vacuum. You cannot just get rid of something. You cannot just let it go. You have to bring something in its place.
Yes,
All right, let
agreed.
go. To where? All right.
Yes, I love it. It's like a deactivate to activate something else. Let it
Yes.
go.
Mm-hmm.
And here's this. That's so
Yep.
beautiful.
And baths. So I mentioned like going outside, walking on the earth.
Yep.
Physically, if you're physically capable of that, um, going into baths is also something very helpful for calming,
Mhm.
releasing, reviving. If you feel like you've been in that situation where you were exposed to a lot of anger or,
Yeah.
yeah, whatever form the friction was taking, a wonderful bath that's so simple. Well, the oats is a wonderful bath, oat and lavender. I have a
Mhm.
couple of different recipes for that in the Gift of Healing Herbs. It's sort of my go to. But another wonderful one or three is you could, I like this one, is a cup or more each of Epsom salts or your favorite, bath salts and baking soda.
Yeah.
That's really good for, I mean, I use it when people are going through radiation treatment as well.
Yep. It's
There
magnificent.
isn't physical proof that it works, but we see that it works.
I love it.
When I say physical proof, I mean scientific. Many things that I've said are scientifically verified for those of you whom that makes much more comfortable.
Yeah.
Um, so like the nettle,
Yep.
power, adrenals, kidneys, strength, boundaries, healthy boundaries, motherwort, soothing the heart, thyme, anti-hysteric and antiseptic for the lungs, the oats,
Yeah.
calming and soothing both drinking and in a bath. And
Okay.
don't just take your oats and put them like in a little muslin bag and run them under the faucet. What you want to do is take about maybe 3 cups of oat straw into a half gallon or so, or big soup pot, let's say. Pour cold water over it, bring it and fill it, bring it to a boil, and then turn it off and let it steep as long as you can wait. If I'm drinking it, I do 8 hours.
Mm.
For a bath, I often want that bath sooner. So I might do it for an hour and then pour that through a strainer into my
Yeah.
bathtub, adding it to the bath. It's incredible, Derica. I
Oh,
mean, it's incredible. And another great thing you could do is you boil up the oats, turn it off, just like I said, I'm just repeating, but
yeah.
then take a small handful of lavender flowers and toss it in. and then again cover it, let it sit for an hour, pour that through a strainer into your bath.
Oh,
You feel different,
I'm
when you
already feeling it. I'm like, this is just so good, yeah, because that covers it. I feel like there's so much, there's this tension,
yeah,
running through
yeah,
this collective right now. So we have that tension from all the different fears, we're
yeah.
facing, legit
Yes, it's
fears.
like what makes you feel defeated, what makes you feel despairing, what makes you
Mm,
feel it's not worth it, right?
yeah.
These are good questions to investigate, because if you know what does it, then you can choose,
Yes.
or be guided to
Yes.
choose, how to address it,
Exactly.
right?
That's good.
Yeah. I mean, are you a person who just, when you feel like, why bother, you just cry all the time? Or are you a person who, when you feel why bother, you just go completely numb?
Yeah.
Different things might help you,
Yeah.
right? The numb person might benefit from some stinging nettles to wake up a little something, right? The
I'm
crying
doing that one.
person, yeah, okay. Okay,
Mhm.
so that would be you would probably really like the
Yeah.
taste and feeling of nettles. The crying person might do well to have motherwort,
Yeah.
right? So the other thing about our challenges is they're also, as uncomfortable as they are, they're also awesome because they help us learn who we are, how we process, how we think, how we heal,
Hmm.
how we heal. So like for me at this stage of my life, I, even when really hard things happen, there is the overall trust in the process of healing,
Yeah.
the overarching container of joy that I know that I'm part of. And this is beyond helpful. I mean, I don't even know how to, a big enough word to say how, and honestly, it's not like I ever thought this would happen.
Yeah.
I didn't know such a thing was possible. And if people told me it was, I didn't really believe it. I
Mm-mm.
didn't, and I'm not saying I never, spiraled down. Life is constant spiraling, or that I never get, fearful or any of these things. I'm on no pedestal. Okay, it's me living life and then learning and then
Yeah.
sharing. What doesn't work as well as what does.
Yep.
Like lying to yourself, it only works for so long,
Mm-mm.
right?
Yep.
But it is a human trait. It's like a defense mechanism. So when
Yep.
you catch that you've been doing it, whether you've been doing it for a day or 50 years, be kind. Choose
Yeah.
to be kind to yourself because you're in school, you're a student.
I love this.
Yeah. And the one other herb I had on my list, so she won't forgive me if I don't say her and I said everybody else. Well, it's really two. Um, if anybody's counting, you're going to see that it was way more than the seven I said at the beginning.
Yeah. I love
But that
it.
wasn't intentional. It's just okay. So lemon balm, Melissa, sweet
Mm.
Melissa, is an excellent herb for helping lift up out of depression, and also for people who, where their anxiety, and wherever their stuff, whatever the stuff is, where their stuff manifests often in their belly
Oh,
or
yeah.
digestive related, right?
Yeah.
Whether it's constipation or diarrhea or IBS or just belly
Mhm.
aches. I was good at belly aches when I was a kid, especially when I wanted to get brought home from school. God, I had a lot of belly aches, um, till
Yeah.
my mother caught on. Uh, yeah, and so lemon balm or sweet Melissa. And by the way, many of
Sweet
these are
mom.
easy to grow, easy to
Yeah.
grow in your gardens, or to learn how to gather from the wild, because
Mm.
the plants that I use wild are abundant common weeds. Among them that I mentioned would be the motherwort and the nettles, abundant common weeds, right? So
Yeah.
we can learn to receive directly from the earth, which is a beautiful thing. I teach, I've taught for years ethical gathering. It's called wild crafting, right? go out and harvest something that's rare. We
Mm-mm.
harvest things that are abundant and common. There's even on good online courses for people who want to do it that way, or because in the time of COVID, you're not meeting personally.
Yeah.
Um, and I have recommendations of my programs and other herbalist programs on my website on robinrosebennett.com.
Nice.
And so the other herb to mention is linden. And think it's important that I mention linden for a couple of reasons. One is linden is a tree, and I only talked
Wow.
about trees in a very general way, but trees are so helpful right now because they're bigger,
Mhm.
than the little plants, and because our angst is so big, or our grief is so big, and so forth. The medicine of being with a tree or drinking a tree medicine like linden that brings light, that opens up, linden really can open like the multi-dimensional doorways. It's one of the fairy trees.
Ooh.
Um, it's also one of my personal allies that I use and recommend for grieving, especially grieving death, though it's not limited to that, but the loss of loved ones, because linden kind of opens these doors. My theory is that it helps us feel how their presence is still there, and so it helps, doesn't take our grief away from us, but it helps us as we grief is essential.
Yeah.
It's an essential emotion. And I think one of the reasons perhaps that we have, and as a therapist, perhaps see this, is that one of the reasons we have so much depression is because grieving is so shortened and
Yeah.
curtailed and frowned upon, and people are uncomfortable. You cry, someone's immediately grabbing you in a hug,
Mm-hmm.
and they often think they're comforting you, and 99% of the time they're comforting them.
Helps. Yeah. Yeah.
And so
Oh,
I
that's
always counsel, ask before you hug somebody. Ask them. For
yeah.
me, I'm a sort of person who, if you hug me, it stops my tears. And
Mm-hmm.
it's not always easy to let them out. So when they come out, it's so helpful and healthful. Don't
Yeah.
stop me in the middle of them. Hug
Oh,
me after.
that's such a beautiful. You're just sprinkling these nuggets all in this. I knew she would do this. This is just so good because yes, like I sometimes feel sometimes it's hard to cry for certain,
Hmm.
folks. And I don't know about you guys, but sometimes it feels really good just to get it all out.
Oh, yeah. Oh,
You know,
yeah.
just like let it go. So that is good. That's a good note, even note to self, when we have a loved one in that place to ask, are they wanting a hug now? Like a hug later? Just asking that question is so beautiful.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
healing in itself.
Right.
Wow.
Because we need to have a space for our distress.
Yes.
We
Don't
do. Uh,
suppress. Let it. Yeah.
yeah.
I love
Yeah.
this.
Mm.
Wow.
Um, so I'm going to give you another word thing because
Okay.
you're open to
Yes, I
it.
am. Do it.
Try guys and gaias instead of all guys, because you wouldn't say you girls to everyone out here. We don't say that, right? You guys has become a totally accepted thing.
Yes. Yeah.
So I like gaias,
Gaius.
like the goddess Gaia, Gaia, because it's not a big stretch from guy,
Uh-huh.
gaias. And
I
if you
love
like
it.
guys, you can say guys and gaias.
Yeah. I love that. This has been
Right?
so good.
And
I
when
love it.
when people, when people say, "Oh no, it's just an expression, it doesn't mean anything," I always ask, well, if you're sitting with a group of let's say 13-year-olds or adult men, would you say you gals? Would you
Right.
ever say you gals? You wouldn't.
Uh-uh.
So we don't even realize that it's an invalidating thing.
Gosh, that's
We
even
probably And
good.
now we probably need a third one for gender fluidity. So we'll work on that. We'll work on that one. Although
Well,
I think Gaia's kind of covers that because the earth is everything, male and
it
female trees and plants and so forth.
I would say it's universal, that one. I'm loving it.
Okay, awesome. So
That is
that maybe, what do you
I
think?
think you covered it. There's so many beautiful happy hacks here. I mean, I hope you guys, my paper is crazy good. So I'm hoping you have yours too, full with all this stuff. Beautiful Mother Nature stuff that's all here at our fingertips. We are one with it, and just starting small wherever you're at, or if you're already an herbologist, if you're already an herbalist, like, yeah, I'm sure you're loving this stuff too. But if you're not
Mm,
even trying that one thing that really resonated with you on this show, giving that a
mm.
go and just open it up and seeing where it takes you, because wherever you're at is perfect, perfect, perfect.
Cup of lavender tea, you can never go wrong.
Mm, no, no, you can't. That is, and you can drink it. I remember the first time saying, lavender, you can drink that?
Yep,
Like,
yep, you
yeah.
can. Yep.
I made a lavender lemonade one
Oh,
summer.
that sounds good.
Oh, it
I'm
was,
gonna make that. I'm gonna
yeah,
make that.
it was super, super good. And it did, it like blew everyone's mind. They were like, what? Like, so yes, lavender lemonade. You guys, this is beautiful. Hit replay. The link below is of the free gift. Robin, can you talk about what you're actually giving away to everyone?
I'm giving away an MP3 of two moon meditations. They're on the same MP3.
Okay.
One is to do at the new moon, one at the full moon, or thereabouts. And we didn't
Oh.
even talk about meditation.
Mhm.
Very, very life altering. And in addition to plants, medicines, the working with the cycles of the moon is the thing that's literally helped me shift my life the very most.
Yeah.
So, this meditation guides you into that practice that I've now been doing for 35 years. And it's extraordinary. I made the CDs, or originally I made cassette tapes, then CDs, then MP3s, because so many students asked for them. So, yes, I'm giving that away free, and it's something that can serve you for the rest of your entire life every month.
Woohoo. We're intrigued. This is so
Yes,
juicy.
yes.
Yeah.
Work with the cycles of the moon so not only the plants and the earth want to support you, that's real.
Hmm.
Not only does the earth want to support you, but so do the heavens. And these moon meditations and setting intention by the cycles of the moon brings that again. It brings that down as the earth brings it up. And where does it all meet? In you.
Yes. Oh, that's a beautiful way to kind of wrap this up. I just want to say how much I believe in what you just said, because all of my babies were born on a full moon. It was really bringing these babies into earth through me. And so, okay, I just got goosebumps. You guys, the link below, please, please, I don't have to tell you anymore. Download it. Let's do this. Let's all do it together. Thank you so much, Robin, for all this beautiful wisdom you shared upon us. We're so thankful.
Oh, you're so welcome. And will you have written down like my site and YouTube and all that stuff, or do I need to say it? You've
It'll
got it?
all be there. It'll
Okay,
all be,
wonderful.
yeah. Hmm.
So good. I hope you avail yourself of all the online videos and interviews and all this. Thank you for the good work you're doing, Derica, and thank you to each of you for you, because there's only one you, and we need you.
We need you.
We need
Thank
you.
you.
We need all of us. Much
Absolutely.
love.
Much love. Bye
Green
bye, you guys.
blessings. Bye.